What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be reviewing EXM's Premium Tweaker. Now around a month ago I made a video reviewing his free tweaks and what I thought about EXM. So I'm going to be seeing if, the premium tweaks are better and change my opinion on EXM at all, or if it's just more of the same pasted, kind of outdated registry that don't really do much. So I'm going to be testing the FPS and the latency using Windows Performance Analyzer and CapFrameX, and I will get more into that when I show the results. But pretty much it's just going to be testing my average FPS and FPS drops in a in-game like scenario and then a creative scenario, so we can see what kind of things I improve on. As for the latency, it's just going to be testing driver latency and comparing that to before and after to see if my latency or delay, whatever you want to call it, does improve or not. Now let's go ahead and get into the actual tweaking process. Alright, so as you can see, I've sped up the clip, but I just went ahead and ran every single thing in this tweaker, going through every single category, going down the list, making sure everything runs properly. And pretty much, yeah, just applied every single thing I could for my system, including the BIOS stuff, the advanced, the Windows, the registry, whatever is in this tweaker that you can see here. I've applied it all. Now, one thing I will say is I don't know if the BIOS actually applied or not. It seemed like it applied pretty quickly for being BIOS settings, and after looking at my BIOS, it didn't really look like anything has changed, but I could be wrong. Now, let's go ahead and get into these actual results and see, did this improve my game, make it worse, did it help latency or make it worse, and what my opinion is on the tweaker. Alright, now I have my cat frame up. This is where we tested for FPS and FPS stutters. Now I tested on a 1v1 map. It was just Panville 1v1. I sat still and did a 3-minute test. And then I did an in-game map where I sat in a 32-player zone wars for a whole round and had fill on, so there were people playing, and I just wanted to see what I averaged in that for a more in-game like scenario. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 1v1 first. So if I just compare these two, we can see stock was actually better than EXM. Our lows dropped around 30 to 40 FPS. Same with our 1% lows dropping around even more than 50 FPS. Wow. And then our average FPS dropping around 54 FPS. So this is significantly worse, and this just overall looks pretty bad, I'm not going to lie to you. It's crazy that this was actually worse than stock Windows. If we add the in-game in on top of it, you can see, again, our stock in-game is beating EXM, dropping all the way down to 109 FPS in-game on EXM tweaks. And I mean, again, compared to stock Windows, this is not looking too hot. We can even take a look at this further and switch it to the frame times. So our stock in-game, we're getting an average of 3.4 ms on the frame times. This was a little bit shorter of a test, so it might be a bit different because the round didn't last as long. But we got a 3.7 on this, so the frame times increased once again. As for the 1v1, we got 1.5 on stock versus EXM at 1.6. So about the same, but still, I mean, really just no improvements here at all. Now let's head on over to WPA and see what we got there. Alright, now we're looking at driver latency. Now one thing I will say is I'm sorry the one on the left is a little bit blurry. I had to have my friend screenshot it once I was done testing off a screen share because I couldn't actually get a screenshot since the snipping tool was disabled. Now what we are looking at here is the microseconds of delay on our drives. And so really any numbers lower for either of these durations is better. So for starters, EXM was on the left, by the way. So for EXM, we had a value of 19 for the NVLD, and for the NVLD on stock, we only had 10. So this is a huge jump in latency, and it's going to make the game stutter. As for the DXG kernel, again, it raised by around 6, which is, again, really bad. Now, the NTOS kernel did drop noticeably on EXM by about an average of 4. Now, the thing, though, is you can see the duration is still at 153, and the duration on stock was only 79. So even though the averages were better on EXM, that still means that there was latency spikes. Same thing for the USB, we see it drop by around 0.7, but the duration is nearly double. So while the average latency did improve for two drivers, the spikes on the latency were still worse, meaning, it's still not necessarily better. And just overall, this looks really bad. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I was coming into this video with higher hopes, thinking, okay, maybe EXM will actually redeem himself a little bit, and this won't be as bad as I'm thinking. I knew it wasn't going to live up to the hype, but I thought that it would actually show a little bit of improvement in all fields, but instead, it made everything worse, just like how the free tweaks did. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want me to do a more in-depth review and we can actually look at what it is changing and a little bit more explanation on what I am testing, I can do that. Because I did just go over it kind of briefly today, but I just wanted to get a video out for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all later.